All right then, so I am joined today by Matt, and you may well know Matt as Furious Driving from his YouTube channel. Hello, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. So just drying out after shooting a couple of videos in the rain today.
Oh,
So it's
brilliant,
nice to be
brilliant. Now,
yeah,
I'll
nice
tell
to
you
be
what, just for any of the listeners that aren't in the know, would you like to just say a few words about your YouTube channel?
Okay, Furious Driving is the love of cars. Not necessarily exciting, powerful, fast, expensive ones, but pretty much anything under the sun, anything on four wheels or anything with an engine, really. One of my most recent reviews was actually a ship.
Was it
So
really?
I don't specify a number of wheels here. So I'm into cars, car culture. I review cars, mostly retro cars, but I'm now moving into modern cars as well. And I've got a fleet of ridiculous cars no one else would want, and I try and keep them on the road.
That's excellent. Would you mind just letting everyone know what the fleet of cars is? Because I know it's an absolutely fantastic range of vehicles.
Oh, okay. Currently, I think there's around 10 cars or so. There's my boring daily car, which is a 2010 Mercedes C250 C-Class, which is very practical, very useful, very boring because nothing ever goes wrong. I had an MOT last week, which I'd completely forgotten about, didn't even bother checking bulbs worked, it sailed through an advisory. So that one's too boring for the channel. Then I've got a 1972 Rover 2000, which I've owned since I was 17. That's not been on the channel for a few weeks because I started changing the engine mounts a few weeks ago in a lock-up garage away from home, and then the job went wrong, and I've not managed to complete that job. So until I've got a
Okay.
conclusion, no one's going to see that car. I've got another Rover P6, which is a 1973 3500,
Oh, very
but
nice.
I took the engine out of that kind of before I started blogging about my own cars. And I've now rebuilt or built a 4.6 litre for that,
Oh, wow.
which is now in the car, that was easy, but actually making it work is, and sort of buttoning up all the loose ends and remembering where the wires go
I can
is tricky
imagine.
part. Yeah. But the thing is, it was out of the car for about 2 years, and I wrote the labels on masking tape, and the labels just faded to nothing in the meantime, so I don't know where
Oh,
anything goes
no.
anymore.
Oh,
So it's a
gosh.
bit of a head scratcher trying to figure it out. And then also I'm buying parts which aren't fitting because it's a conglomeration of Rover P6, Rover SD1, Range Rover, and all kinds of stuff in there. So it's a real mismatch of bits. Sticking with the Rover theme, I've got a 1993 Rover 220 Coupe, which is a surprisingly rare car now. 200 Coupes, or Tomcats as they're kind of known, were never huge sellers because they were very expensive for what they were back in the day. It works out about 35 or 40,000 pounds in today's money
Oh, wow.
for one of those. And there's less than 100 2 litre non-turbos left, but I paid £100 for that about 10 years ago when someone saw a light old car and said, well, I'll just take it out of their life because it was in the way. And that's kind of my most reliable retro car, actually. I've never had a problem. It's brilliant. Off the back of that, very recently, someone contacted me through the channel and said their dad had a Rover 216 convertible, a 1995 car, which they've been offered £100 to scrap for because the alternator had died 7 years ago and parked on their drive with the windows and roof down under a sheet, and they're now going to scrap it unless I gave them £100 for it to save it. Was I interested? And I thought, I can't let a Rover 200 convertible die. There's only 300 left.
It's true.
So that's on the drive now, causing the end of the street. I've got, what else have I got? A Mercedes W123, a 230E, which is the 1980s E-Class, which is probably the best car in the world, the W123. It's an absolute tank of a vehicle.
It is.
That's they're awesome. I always kind of half wanted one, but never thought kind of committed to doing it. Back when I worked in car magazines, one of the other photographers had a W123 Tourer back when they weren't
Oh,
crazy
wow.
expensive, and he used it as his everyday work car. This is not that long ago; it was about 10 years ago. And since then, they've suddenly rocketed in value, and I've got no hope of buying one. But I did find this one in a barn, where it sat for about 2 decades and had lots of bits robbed and vandalised. So I'm gradually putting that back together. But that's really fought me all the way because the Bosch K-Jetronic is quite complicated and not anything you can tackle at home.
That's
But I've
true.
been tackling at home, I've been doing it to make it work. What else have we got? The Alpha 145 is kind of a dream car of mine because I used to have an Alpha 146 and I adored it, but it got written off when a truck hit it.
Oh,
Um,
no.
but yeah, I was in traffic and going through London, and a couple of cars up ahead of us just suddenly stopped to make a right turn it had missed, and this 38-ton tipper truck loaded with concrete just couldn't stop, slammed into the back of me, and turned it from a 146 into a 145. And I kind of half wanted one ever since. But yeah, that I found about 2 years ago. It had a £7,000 engine rebuild on it, according to the receipts, which is excessive for a £2,000 car.
Yeah, definitely.
It came from an Italian car specialist who said they'd done a lot of welding to it, which is great because they all rust. But I've just found in the last video or two you may have seen, the rust is back with a vengeance, and it looks like it wasn't welded very well, and it's potentially going to cost a lot or may not survive. Oh, no. But hopefully we will get through that. Someone did actually contact me, said they're breaking another car which has got the same strut tops because they shared that platform with a lot of other vehicles.
Okay, yeah.
So I've got some good strut tops coming, and if there's enough metal to weld to, then we can hopefully save it.
Oh, that is the beauty of the YouTube and online community, isn't it? That you do get that. It really is,
yeah. Yeah, because I've been searching for Alpha 145 strut top or Fiat Tipo strut top because on Tipo platform I was just drawing a blank, and this guy actually lived really quite close to me.
No
he's
way.
got in contact, said I'm breaking a 145. He's 15 minutes from my house. Would you like the strut tops for 50 quid? So, yeah, yes, definitely. So I hope he's going to cut lots of meat off with them as well, so we can graft them in, and hopefully that'll be good. Actually, a nice little segue from the Alpha 145 to the next car in the fleet is my Mini Cooper. Because back in 2001, when the Mini was launched, I was quite taken with them. I actually really fancied getting a new Mini Cooper when they first got launched. And I was kind of thinking of chopping my 146 in for one. But then when the Alpha got hit by a truck, I had a complete change of heart and decided to go and buy a Land Rover instead because I wanted a really big car.
Okay.
And so I never got the Mini. I kind of spec'd one, red with white wheels, white roof, red interior, wanted a Cooper.
Oh, nice.
And exactly the car I've got now.
No way.
Which is, this is about 3 or 4 years ago, I did a shoot for it was going called Modern Mini magazine. It's now changed to Performance Mini. It was 15 years of the new Mini. And so we went up to Cowley, to the Oxford factory.
Oh, yeah.
And the editor and I had managed to get through. There's a really great lady called Tanya Field who organises loads of car club events for lots of different sort of British, Leyland, Austin kind of car groups. And she had found a wire edge Mini because the Minis weren't launched on a wire edge. They were launched on a 51 plate.
Oh, okay.
But there were some cars that were registered on a Y previous to that for dealer use and for internal use, like technician training, that kind of thing.
Oh, I get you.
But they exist. They're all kind of pre-production cars. They're pilot build cars. And so we had 2 of these cars at the factory, and myself and the editor of the magazine, Martin Collins, we did this shoot, and we both looked at these cars, and they've got lots of little tiny differences that make them a little bit special. And we both went, I want one of those. That's really cool. And within a month, we both bought one.
That's amazing.
So I've got chassis number 202. So it's the 202nd R50 Mini ever built, which was built before they were launched. So that's quite cool.
That is.
He spent quite a lot. He spent £1,500 or £2,000 on his car, and I kind of laugh about this because he's had quite a few problems with it, and it was a really nice car, but it's had a few gremlins that has taken a bit of sorting out. I found one that was up for £1,500, looked at it, realised it had a minor doink on the front because the bonnet is such an awkward clamshell stamping, you can't really repair them. And so a minor ding can cause problems. I talked this guy down from £1,500 to £500.
That's good going.
Yeah, well, it was a dealer who was clearly chancing his arm because this car's been crashed, and he looked at
That's true.
and painted on it. Has it? Yeah, yes, it has. And I got a second-hand 2001 bonnet and bumper, had them painted and fitted, and serviced it, for fresh tyres and fresh exhaust on it, and the car has been absolutely trouble-free. It's really, really good for £500.
Oh, that's wonderful. And
so, sorry, go on.
No, sorry, I do apologise. And £500 for just a usable car is one thing, but to have it be like a complete one-of-a-kind Mini, that is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it owes me more than that now because I spent over the odds getting the paint done nicely. I mean, I could have just left it as it was and put fresh tyres on it because it was perfectly drivable, but I wanted it to be really nice.
Yeah.
The kind of irony in my thinking back to 2001, though, is that the crash tests actually show that the R50 Mini is way safer to crash than a Freelander. So if I had
actually,
my safety plan was completely cockeyed and stupid because I bought the wrong car. But yeah, what else we got? Sorry, I was still going through the list of cars.
Yeah, I do apologise. I interrupted you there.
I lost track. Where else? I don't know how many we've gone through now. The Volvo 740. Everyone on the channel, all the audience seem to love that car. I can't ever sell this thing now, even if I want to. I bought it at the beginning of this year for a cheap car challenge. So it had to be a car that was MOT'd and road legal and purchased for under £500. So you could spend up to £500 buying it, and if it was £400 but needed £50 of work, you're okay. £150 of work, you're over the limit. So I found this Volvo 740, immaculate one-owner car for £175.
Wow, really?
Which was
£175 for one of those huge Volvos.
Yeah, exactly. Buying by the pound is very good value. A guy who owned it had bought it brand new in 1988. Still had all the dealer welcome pack, every service record, all his records for tyres, exhaust, brakes over the years. Even had the brochure from the dealer when he went to go and choose it. And it's a one-owner car.
Oh, wow.
And he was in his 70s, I guess. He was an older guy. But he said he got two cars. He'd only driven 150 miles, I think, between both of them in the last year. Didn't need both cars. And he was going to sell one. His mechanic had told him this was going to need a little bit of welding for the next MOT, so he decided to part with it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it did need a bit of welding. Not a great deal, but it's hidden enough for me to do it, so no one can tell.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. He said the phone was just melting when that went on.
Yeah, I imagine.
I couldn't believe it. Because I said to him, I explained what I was doing. I was buying it for a YouTube channel, and I was going to improve it, polish it, make it really nice. And he said, yeah, I could have it, but I couldn't haggle when I arrived. I said, don't worry, I'm not going to haggle 150. But yeah, that was meant to be mileage challenge, reliability challenge, and then we were going to race them at Santa Pod.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Which is kind of a repeat of it. Yeah, it was basically a repeat of a challenge we did last year when I bought a Hyundai Coupe.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
car. I really enjoyed that car. I wish I hadn't sold that. It's actually sold to a friend of mine who's lent it on permanent loan to a friend of his.
Oh no!
So it's arm's length away. He didn't need it. He loved it. He wanted a Rover Coupe. He couldn't find one, and I was selling this, so he bought it off me. So it's at arm's length. I could retrieve it, I suppose, if I really wanted to. But anyway, yeah, with the cheap car challenge didn't happen for obvious reasons in the early part of this year.
That's true.
But by then, everyone involved in the channel, all the audience, had just kind of completely fallen for it and absolutely adores it. And every time I do a video of it, it gets lots of views and loads of nice comments. So now I need to find some other things to do with it, and it's currently sort of parked in a friend's driveway because I've got too many cars to tax and I had to sawn it and park it somewhere, so It's borrowing a parking bay at the moment. And then there's a Sinclair C5, which I've been saying for years I'm going to finally fix. But that's quite an entertaining car, well, not a vehicle. Yeah, do you know the Sinclair C5?
I am aware of it. It's a very early electric car from 1985 from Clive Sinclair,
Yes.
the man who bought you the ZX Spectrum.
Yes, which is the computer I had as a child. I've got several ZX Spectrums.
I've still got a ZX Spectrum.
Have you? Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic. I've got a rubber key. We sold all of ours originally, but I've got a rubber key in the loft, 48k one. I bought at a market ages ago, and I have no idea if it works. I really hope it does.
Oh, they are fantastic.
I absolutely adore. I really want the C5 was the coolest thing in the 80s. And I really wanted one, and I got given this on a photo shoot. And I was shooting someone. I think it was a Porsche GT3, and this C5 was in the back of the garage, actually standing on its end.
Oh,
and I was way more excited by the C5 than I was about the Porsche.
I would be. Yes.
Which is unfair because the Porsche is like £100,000 car, and this is like tatty old piece of fiberglass.
That's true, but they are quite collectible now, aren't they? The C5.
They are, yeah. Well, this one though isn't particularly because it was bought by an Alfa Romeo garage in London, brand new, as like a courtesy vehicle. So people come in, and if they assumed people were going locally because it was London, they could toddle off in the C5.
Oh, that's true.
So you drop in your 3-litre V6 Alfa with leather and air conditioning, and off you go in your electric pedal thing.
That's brilliant.
And it went down, I think, like a French kiss at a family reunion is the phrase there. It was unpopular, and so in a bizarre marketing twist, they sign wrote it, took out everything electrical and heavy, and bolted it to the roof. But yeah, so this guy said he was going to fix it one day, never got around to it, and would I like to have a go instead? So I said yes. So
Oh,
I
that's
phoned my brother. 'Cause
amazing.
for some reason, I didn't have an estate car at the time. I think I was driving an Alpha 156 Saloon just because they're too beautiful. Um, so my brother came up in his estate car, and we shoved it in the back and took it home, and it's been in my garage waiting to be done ever since. But I need to go and find something to cannibalize to get all of the electrical parts to make it run.
I get you. Say we're
So
like
I
a.
think,
Oh, sorry, go for it.
sorry, I think that's all of my machines. Oh, but I've got on my Patreon page, I've got a secret 1960s garden implement, which
Ooh, okay.
I might put onto the main channel one day, but it's on Patreon at the moment.
I get you, I get you. But what an amazing collection. I looked on, because I know that you've got a video out. It's been out for quite a while now, but it's going on about all of the cars that you've owned, and it's like an hour long. And I second one of the comments which I found on that video, which says, "You must have the most forgiving neighbours in Britain," if I do say so.
Well, I'm very lucky. My neighbour on one side, we have quite a weird drive situation. We live in a shared driveway with one house. Each house has got a garage and a couple of parking bays, and it varies on house by house how many parking bays you get. But the house kind of directly opposite us, we see the side of their house, and so his driveway runs alongside where we park. He's actually a builder. So he's always got skips or piles of building materials and all kinds of other stuff on his driveway. So it's kind of like I forgive him and he forgives me, and neither of us really worries.
Oh, nice! You got a sort of two-way system going on. I like that.
Exactly, yeah. And the neighbour on the other side, who also shares the driveway, at one point he was a guy who was a plumber, but he was into motorbikes. He was always out playing with his bikes, and he left and he was replaced by a guy with he was into Fords, and he did a couple of engine swaps on Fords. So I was lending him tools and lending my engine crane to him, and he was lending me tools, and so that was really nice.
Oh yeah, it sounds that sounds fantastic.
I was very sorry when he left. The only reason he left was because it's a rented place and he wanted to buy, and the landlord wouldn't sell. Otherwise, he would have stayed, which would have been great if he had.
Yeah, true.
But no, we've got an ordinary person now who.
Oh no! Comment. We don't like ordinary people here.
No, that's not right at all.
Now, as well as this, I should probably also point out that you also do, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of road tests on Furious Driving. Now, I've got to say, you've been going for what, about 10 years now?
Yes and no. Yes, the channel has existed for about 10 years, but I kind of think of it as a separate chapter. When the stage when it was just purely GoPros on a car.
Okay,
it's like a separate stage. Before I kind of reinvented the channel I guess about 2 years ago now.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that you've been doing a lot of road tests in those 2 years, and one of the things that does actually sort of concern me, shall I say, when watching them is, do you ever worry that you'll run out of cars to road test? Because there's pretty much almost every car I can imagine that you've road tested.
At the moment, no, because I'm not limited to a particular style or era or even decade or anything like that at all. I'm happy and excited to drive anything, because I had the 1930 Morris Minor on recently.
That's true, yeah.
But then I've also been approaching car press offices the last couple of weeks to sort out some new car, as in brand new car reviews as well. So, and there's lots of cars that people aren't even aware of. And there's also variants on different cars. So I think I've got a few more years to go before I start running out of stuff.
That's good to hear.
And then there's whole new things happening as well. I did the Toyota Mirai, which is the hydrogen car.
Yes, of course.
That I'm really excited about. I know electric cars are obviously going to be the future, but battery electric or hydrogen electric or some other electric. So yeah, I think there's lots of other avenues of modern cars that can be interested. The only real limitation I try and put on it is I'm not really very keen on SUVs. I do try and limit the SUVs to have a particular reason to have it on there. There are a few 4x4, real 4x4s I'm happy to include. Like I put a proper Land Rover on there, or an original Range Rover, Jeep Cherokee.
The capable stuff.
Exactly, yeah. But there are exceptions. Like a Freelander I put on because that's quite an interesting story. That's kind of a car that, one of the many times Land Rover was saved, the Freelander saved it.
Yeah,
Quite an interesting tale there. what else would there be? I don't know. There are some I would include for reasons, but yeah, apart from SUVs, I'll drive anything if I can drive it. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And actually, that is very, very reassuring that you are sort of exploring new areas to get new content. And it is absolutely fantastic. I really do enjoy the stuff that you do, with the road tests in particular. But one thing that I do indeed need to ask, and I know it's going to be quite a hard question. I almost, when I was thinking about questions to ask you, was about to ask, what's your favourite car that you've driven? But I'm not going to be that mean. And what I'm going to say is, in the time that you've ran your YouTube channel, what has been your highlight of it?
Okay, a couple of highlights really. I mean, from a purely YouTube point of view, there's a video I've got on there from quite a long time ago, which is of the Kia car factory in Slovakia, which is a very short video, and it's just some time lapse of the robots working, and that got over 1 million views, and that, from a YouTube point of view, was massively exciting. I think that kind of went viral on various websites, and so that's just been amazing. It's my most stolen video, because YouTube tells you someone borrowed your video and re-included it in something else, and so I'm always seeing reports of that popping up in places. In terms of cars that I've driven, the Austin 7 I drove about a year and a half ago now. That was really exciting. I really like pre-war cars, and that one was such an original car, never restored, still in daily use, and it drove so nicely as well. I really enjoyed that, and that had a massive reception as well. People really enjoyed watching that video. So that really was a highlight.
I can imagine. I mean, I do really like the little Austin 7. I don't know quite if I'd be able to fit in one. I'm 6'2", so I suppose the convertible ones.
Well, maybe, yeah. They're actually quite spacious because people wore hats back then, so you've got a lot of headroom.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not too wide. If you're sort of fairly slim, you're probably okay. Actually, other highlight, which is a bit of a sort of curveball, was the Roots car dealership. The Art Deco, because I reviewed a building in Maidstone. There is this massive Art Deco place, which was the flagship car dealer for the Roots Group from the 1930s until basically they closed in the 70s, but it kept on being a Peugeot dealership until about 2 years ago, when they finally moved out of town into a out-of-town place. It's a building I've known for years and years. I've always wanted to go in there, and I approached the developer, and said, could I have a look around and do a video in there? And he was quite up for it. And again,
brilliant.
That's been really well received. And also people who have no interest in cars but are interested in either architecture. The Art Deco Society picked it up, and they kind of retweeted it. Loads of people I know who have lived in around the town for years and years, but always been fascinated but never seen inside the building, watched it, and I got loads of comments from people who aren't into cars going, I saw your Roots video, that was brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Really nice. I even got interviewed by the local paper about that one. That was
seriously? Cool. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But I tell you what, finally, one question, and I tend to ask this question to anyone that comes on the road show just to sort of finish off the interview, is there a dream car that you've always wanted to have but haven't quite perhaps got the courage, shall we say, to get one yet?
I wouldn't say courage, it's more the money.
Yeah, well, fair enough, that too. Depends what the car is.
There's three answers to that question. So there's a top 3 of cars I would desperately like. There's actually about a top 50 or so, but I'll limit down to 3. I really want an Austin 7.
Oh, yeah.
Having driven a couple, I think fantastic. They're just so much fun. You're doing 28 miles an hour and you're having to concentrate so far ahead down the road to keep it in a straight line and be ready for everything. They're loads of fun. My number 2, which is probably the car I am most likely to buy next, if I buy a car deliberately rather than someone ringing up saying save this car for me, is a Ford Crown Victoria. That's top of my list of cars I really, really want. 2008 to 2010 model. I want a detective pack spec, as in the user takes it home and lives with the car spec in ideally dark colour, or Appletons or nudge bar. I want low idle hours,
Nice.
under 100,000 miles. I nearly bought one last year from LA, which was a probation service car, full Interceptor spec, but had never been used in that manner. So it was really nice used car with like no idle hours at all.
I forget that you can do that over in America, can't you? You can buy like ex-police and ex-PAX cars and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can over here as well.
Can you?
But,
I didn't know that.
Police auction. Yeah. There's always a debate whether it's a great car or a terrible car because it's been used incredibly hard, but it's been serviced while it was warm, like 3 times as frequently as it needs to be, and anything wrong with it is changed instantly.
Okay.
So you take the toss-up of amazing service versus the fact it's been driven into stuff quite a lot.
That's true.
And the frame is potentially a bit weak, and you've got holes drilled in the roof. Also, you get some really good specs as well. I've got friends who work in the police, and they get some amazing cars, like a 3-litre V6 or straight 6, but with cloth seats and no air conditioning.
Oh no! Oh god!
In fact, there's talk back in the 60s. The police bought Mark II Jags because they would outrun anything else on the road apart from the Rover V8.
Oh yeah.
But they had them so that they weren't seen to be being lavish. They had them built down to like a really low police spec. So great engine, great gearbox, but vinyl seats, a metal dashboard rather than a wooden dashboard, no radio, that kind of thing. But the irony was, it actually cost more to build these cars off the line than it did actually would have done to just buy a car from a dealership.
What? Because they were unique in that sense?
Yeah, because in order to build a stripped-out Mark II Jag, you had to take a car off the line, specially hand trim the seats in a worse material, hand build the dashboard, all the things that would...
So they just purposefully made them grim for the police officers?
Yeah, so it would not look like they were spending lots of money.
Oh, yeah.
But actually spent more money than they would have done. And in fact, apparently, when there were the Wolseleys back in the 50s, some chief constables had the heaters disconnected so the police wouldn't feel too comfortable in there.
Yes,
I've
heard about this. A very, very similar thing near where I live in Coventry. Supposedly, this was the case where the police had, I think, just like regular patrol cars, they had Hillman Imps.
Yeah.
Sorry, this would have been in the 60s. But apparently the police there cheaped out as well. So apparently, all of the policemen were cursing their higher ups in the winter because they didn't have heaters.
Be colder inside the car than out.
Yeah, quite exactly.
Oh no! But that's my number 2 is the Crown Vic. I'm absolutely dead set on buying one of those because they've all been retired since the last one was made in 2011, and that's what I would like. Anyway, number 1 car, my absolute favourite car ever since I had a Matchbox Super King one back when I was a kid, is a Cord 812 Phaeton supercharged. From the late 30s, only built them for about 2 years, I think. They're not as expensive as I thought. I thought they'd be over 100,000, but I think you can get them for about 60 or 70,000. So maybe even less.
That's good.
Absolutely beautiful car, pure Art Deco style. Got the kind of big kind of side supercharger pipes poking out the dashboard. The coffin nose, they call it. The bonnet is like a big coffin-shaped thing on the front. It's really advanced as well. One of the first front-wheel drive cars. Pop-up headlights, but you have to manually turn a wheel underneath the dashboard to pop them up.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's not automated. It's like a tiny window wind. If you crank that to wind the windows up to pop them up, that's beautiful. Absolutely love one of those. That's my all-time. If I won the lottery, I wouldn't be down at the Ferrari or Lambo dealer. I'd be out hunting for one of those straight away. Definitely,
and make YouTube videos of it, I'm sure.
Oh god, yeah. I wouldn't care if anyone liked it or not.
Yeah. Oh well, I tell you what, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, Matt. Honestly, and
thank you.
Honestly, listeners, you've got to follow this guy, Furious Driving, on YouTube. One of my highlights, actually, one of my personal highlights right now going on there is you've got a series on the Minder Capri, because of course, if you didn't know, the Minder Capri, the Capri used in Minder recently caught fire. It was to do with the electrics, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. We're not quite sure exactly what happened, but it was an electrical short, which, basically burst into flames under the bonnet, and it could have been much, much worse. Like a real iconic TV car was nearly lost, but the mechanic who was driving it pulled the bonnet, and the fire brigade arrived in double quick time.
And you're covering the restoration of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really, really lucky. It got taken to a Ford specialist classic car restoration place down near Canterbury, which is a real lucky event because it's a place I know the guy who runs it quite well. I've shot a few of the cars that he's restored for car magazines in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And he painted the back bumper on my Alpha for me. But he's also restoring something else for the owner of this Capri. And so when he got caught fire, the owner phoned up Tony and said, "Come over and have a look at this. I want to get put back exactly as it was, fully restored." And the owner also kind of wanted it documented as well to kind of prove that it wasn't a different car that was being sort of chopped in to replace it, and as much of the original metal was being kept, and just proving it's a genuine car. And so Tony said, "Would I be interested in doing this?" Yes, definitely, please. So yeah, obviously I can't be there for every step of the way, but once a week or so I'm popping down there as things progress. And so far, it's actually proved to be not nearly as badly damaged as we thought it was going to be.
No, because I can remember, because I covered it on the news segment of the Roadshow, and there was someone that they interviewed, I don't know if it was a firefighter, and they said that it looked beyond repair. But from what I've seen from... Yeah. But what I've seen from your videos, and as you say, it is actually getting that attention. It will be brought back to life. It's absolutely fantastic to see.
It's amazing, yeah. The lucky thing is I don't know if you saw the first episode, the fire brigade were literally had just packed everything back into the truck. They were just climbing aboard. They were still wearing their fighting fire suits. Oh, yeah. And the call came in, the car on fire, and it was about 2 streets away. So they just belted around the corner. And it's not that they wouldn't normally bother with a car fire, but they're not going to put themselves at great risk. They'll hose it down, they'll try and put it out, they'll do the best to kind of keep it safe. But if a Vectra's on fire, no one's really going to put themselves in harm's way to save a Vectra.
That's true. Sorry, sorry.
When they saw it as a Capri, they was, "Oh my god, extra hoses, get everything out, get everything on it right now, quick." So they really stepped up to the mark, and they really did a massive job to try and put it out as fast as possible. And also when you look at it, the fire started at the kind of battery level, which is kind of halfway up the engine bay.
Okay.
So below that level, because fire goes up, obviously, it doesn't go down.
Oh, yeah.
Everything below the battery is virtually untouched. You still had the original paint on there.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of smoke damaged, but it wasn't fire damaged, and the bottom of the engine was unharmed. So it's amazing. But the thing is, it looks so bad because the heat has gone into the bonnet and it's really kind of done a number on the bonnet, taken all the paint off that. And then when the bonnet's been lifted, the fire's come out and round the wings. It's kind of enveloped the wings, so it's damaged the paint on there. It was quite tightening how it's come through the vents into the cabin and melted the dashboard. I mean, another minute or two, the fire would have been through the bulkhead into the body, into the cabin, and would have taken the dash up. And that would have been it. Yeah. But as it was only on fire for such a short time that it's all savable, which is incredible.
It is, and honestly, it's such a great thing that it is, because it is such a fantastic and iconic car. I mean, I did a thing about the cars from the professionals, and obviously a lot of Capris there, but there were very, very similar situations with that. And I think if there is a car that is that iconic, and if you're able to put in that much dedication, then anything is possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The trouble with fire damage is that it can make the metal brittle. It can warp the metal. But in this case, it was a lucky escape. And they've also been really, really lucky. They found a new old stock wing on eBay, went to go and collect it, and it turned out someone had been collecting new old stock parts for years for a restoration that they'd now given up on or weren't going to do. And so they've managed to find a new old stock front end. So
that's brilliant.
All genuine Ford parts, some of it's still in the Ford packaging. So
oh, that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
Anyway, sorry, go for it.
That's just a real lucky event, and that could also count as one of the highlights for the channel as well, because that since that's been on there, that's done great things for the viewer numbers and subscription numbers as well, because people are really into that. So
I can imagine
jumping on the channel ever since.
Oh, honestly, it's been so good talking to you. It's honestly fantastic to have you on the channel, because I've been watching your videos for so long.
Oh, it's been great to be here. We're hoping at some point later in the year to do like a Furious Driving kind of meet-up social event or something. So
that'd be good.
Great to come down and say hello in person.
Oh, that'd be absolutely fantastic. I'd certainly love to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's right. No idea where. I need to do a poll on the Facebook or something saying, where shall I do this? Shall I make it convenient for myself and have it in my garden, or shall I drive to Birmingham?
Oh, driving to Birmingham's fine. I'm only round the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. I better let you get on with the rest of your day.
No, thank you very much indeed. Take care. See you soon.
Bye now. Bye.